Hey guys, welcome to Own Your Happy. And today I have Kiera. I should have practiced your last name, Kroetsch. Is that
Yeah,
how you say it? There's an S in it, so it messes with me. Is there an S in it, or did I make that up?
there, there is an S.
I didn't mess that part up, but I always want to add it in there, but it's completely silent. And we are going to talk about Kiera's made some pretty massive, drastic moves in her life about 2 years ago, and then again since COVID occurred, and she really just like jumped in, and you're like, I'm just gonna make some changes and I'm just gonna do it. And so we're gonna talk a little bit about that and what that looked like for her and some of the fears that popped up, I'm sure, because there is so much power in sharing our stories, because we all have these dreams inside of us of what we should do, and then we're like, yeah, but I shouldn't because of this, and yeah, but I shouldn't because of that. And so Kiera is a registered massage therapist. She just got married this year, which was so exciting. It was supposed to be a big wedding, ended up being a small wedding because of the times. But do you think the blog came because of that? Or was the blog always there and then that promoted it? Now that I'm thinking about it, she did an amazing post. I will just like preface with this on Facebook before her wedding about all of the changes with 2020. And it was just so beautifully written from the bride's perspective of, you plan your whole life for this big day that, like, I know Ella last night, she's 8, and she was telling me that she asked me to be a bridesmaid at her wedding. And I was just like, oh, this is a cute moment I'm going to remember forever. And I love this. But, we planned that day for so long, and then it kind of got ripped away from you in some ways.
It kind of got ripped away from me, but it also made it just that much better too.
Wow.
And about your question about the blog, like I feel like I always wanted to start the blog, but that post was kind of just, okay, I'm gonna do it, right?
Yeah,
So it kind of gave me the push to start it, I think.
I love it. I love it so much. And so you weren't in massage therapy right out the get-go. You are young, for sure. But you were on a different path, and then you decided to go back to school for massage. What did that look like?
Um, it was kind of scary at first, like deciding to go back to school because I was working almost full time at the time and wanting to go to school on the side. And I don't know, it was hard going back
Yeah.
to learning after being out of it, right?
Yeah. Did you always want to get into massage?
No, I had no idea.
And so what pulled you?
Like I really got into the healthcare side of things. Working at a physiotherapy clinic, I worked at the front desk.
Mm-hmm.
So the more I worked there, the more I just saw like the therapy part of things and kind of wanted to start doing something with that.
Mm-hmm. And then you go back to school. You had a ton on your plate going back to school doing that, right? It wasn't like, okay, I'm going back to school. This is easy peasy, no big deal. There were a lot of things that came with it. And what do you think? Did you know immediately that you were on the right path, or did you still question whether this was the right choice to make? I'm thinking of like crunching for finals.
I definitely questioned it. The studying part was the hardest part because most of my course was online and
Mm-hmm.
at home.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a real, I guess, learning curve there trying to do it by yourself most of the time. And then first year finals, actually in the month that I was studying for my final, we actually took a family trip to Oregon for a week. So out of the 4 weeks I had to study, there was like one whole week where it was like a write-off.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we've got to kind of get our butt in gear here.
Yeah, it is so different. And I think that's true for anybody that's self-employed in any capacity to learn. Okay, backstory for a second. When I was going to high school in grade 11, I was like in honors, doing very well in all the AP classes, which is an Alberta thing, doing very well in school. And so for grade 12, I decided to switch to a high school that was all self-study, which was pretty, like, not to date myself, but this was 20 years ago, right? it wasn't the norm that that's how it was. And so you had like floors and levels. There was like an English level with the big library, and there were English teachers in there. And same for science and same for math. But you completely decided what your day looked like. And my days, I should have graduated in January. Like I had all my credits, was flying through high school, doing the good girl thing, and I decided to go to this school. And all you had to do was check in the morning with your like teacher that you were at your homeroom essentially, and then you checked out at night. And that's all you had to do. Like nobody was monitoring you during the day at all. And so, yeah, Tim Hortons and the malls, because I was newer to the city, called my name daily. I had a boyfriend that had already graduated. And so if he had the day off work because of rain, he worked in like construction outside area. Was like, oh yeah, let's just hang out for the day all the time. Like I never went to school, and it was fine until about March. And my homeroom contacted my mom and said, she's not going to graduate. And I was like, oh crap. Like this, I got to buckle down, but still to have that freedom at that age when I had never had that before, it was just like, here's your classes. This is what you do. Your assignments are due here. There was none of that hardly, right? And so it was like, oh, I really got to get my poop in a group and get my shit together here and graduate. And I was so close that I walked the stage. I had the gown, the cap. My family all came from Saskatchewan. I had a family member come from Ontario for my grad party. And with finals, I ended up with a 49 in 2 classes, like how it evened out with the finals and everything. And so I ended up failing and not graduating. And I was just like, I am such a failure at this. I should have been early. I was totally, like on the road to success. And then learning that lesson at the time felt so hard. And then I had to go back to school and upgrade all my classes, because I was like, I took a year and then I was like, no, like I need to do something with my life. Like I know I want to do something with my life and not just work the bar scene, as much as the money was really good. And I had worked at a lawyer's office, which was amazing, and I was making decent money, but I just knew there was something else. And then to have to go back to like school with all of these people that didn't really want to do school. A lot of them were there just because they could get paid to be at school. But now, like reflecting back, it was like, well, that really set me up. Like, I know how bad it can be if I don't follow through on my schedule or routine. I know I need to like do certain things. And so now I'm grateful for it. But like in your 20s, was it difficult to schedule the time for you to do that when you could be doing like anything else during those hours?
Oh, for sure it was. And like, I mean, especially with working a job on top of that, trying to come home from a job and study when I could be out seeing friends or doing other things. I mean, in my second year of schooling, we ended up buying our house and getting a dog. So it's like, now I have all of this other stuff I could be doing, walking
Yeah.
my dog, doing whatever. And yeah, I definitely had to have some times where I'm like, okay, I have to sit down and do something. And Ryan, you have to take the dog because he's too distracting.
And so was there a point in your 2-year school journey that you were like, this is totally it? Like now I know that this is right? Or was it a struggle the whole way through? Not a full struggle, but like.
It wasn't necessarily a full struggle. Like doing the work was always not necessarily fun, but I always found the learning to be super fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
And like it just lit me up. So I don't know. I feel like I always kind of knew I was on the right path. It's just not necessarily the easy path.
Yes. Yes. Just get through this and then I know it's the right path.
Yeah, exactly.
And so then after school, you went to, was it the clinic that you had worked at?
Yeah, so I stayed at the same clinic. I just transitioned over from like front desk work to massage therapy, which was super nice because I already knew everybody there and worked with them for a few years already. So it was really nice to do that.
And comfortable. Was it,
Yeah.
I hope this isn't like too much information or something you don't want to answer, but was it guaranteed income?
I mean, it's never guaranteed income with massage because you only get paid for however many people you see. I would say it was probably more guaranteed because I knew that the clinic would be referring people to me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of comfort in that way.
Building a clientele with people coming through
Yeah,
the front door regardless,
exactly.
which is amazing. And then you decided during this time that you would start doing it out of your house. And I know that that was not an easy decision to make because there isn't that guarantee,
Yeah.
right? Can you tell us, I don't know if it was the first week or like the first 2 weeks after you finally like, not finally, but you like decided for sure this is what I'm doing, and you were like, I have the room, I just have to finish it, here's what it is, and what happened with clients?
Actually, I ended up running into one of my old clients in Costco of all places. Like, I was so scared that I wouldn't get any clients and that none of my old people would want to come see me. And like, I don't know, they just ended up all finding me somehow or some way or another. And it turned out really awesome.
I just want people to really take that in because I think that holds us back so often. Like if you had had those people guaranteed, do you think, I think our journeys are meant to be our journeys and everything happens exactly as it's meant to happen. But do you think that held you back for a while from doing it at home?
Definitely. And I mean, I wasn't working to begin with because of COVID.
Yeah.
Um, when I was trying to decide all this. So I'm like, what are my options? Not work or like work and try? Like
Yeah.
either do nothing or try something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And I just love when the like, it reminds me of when we moved here of just like, oh, this is a really big, scary decision. And then everything just started to line up. And it was like, wow, okay. Like, still scary for
Yeah.
sure. Still scary because it's like we're never guaranteed anything. But just to be able to feel so supported, kind of, in that it was like, well, it's happening really easily and it's all coming together. I just
And
have to continue to
was
believe.
it was almost strange how easily it all happened. Like once I just kind of went for it, it was like, okay, this is weird. Like it shouldn't be this easy, but
Um, that happens so often. I see it all the time. And then we pump the brakes, and then things can sometimes fall apart. Not saying this is what's going on with you, but I've seen it happen so often with people that get into a new industry and everything starts to fall together. And it's like, whoa, cool, this is great. And then they like come up with all these reasons why they should hop back on the struggle bus and get in their own way. Ego comes up, subconscious beliefs come up, all of these things come up, and then it starts to become hard because they believe it should be harder. And so I think that's just a really good lesson for all of us to know. I've definitely gone through that over the last couple of years too, where it's like, oh, this is so great, this is so easy, here we go. And then I'm like, no, like I should probably create something to make this harder. I probably should. Like it's a subconscious thing. I'm not consciously doing it, but all the creations will come in and then it's like, oh, well, this is hard and uncomfortable and I don't like it. And I have to remember, like, just go with the flow of the stream. Quit fighting to swim upstream all the time. The more you just let it flow, the easier it is. And there will be pivots and transitions, and that's how it goes. That's how life is, truly, right? So the reason we're doing this interview is Kiera and I were chatting last week, and we were like not having a super long chat, but it turned into a long chat because we were just like, oh, well, this about the nervous system and this about the nervous system and all of these things. And I was like, we need to record this. I should have pushed record that very moment, but I did not. And so we're doing it today. And I would love, what is like the first thing that pops up for you to do with, actually, I have a different question because you said something to me last week about your tummy gurgling and what that means, because you have, I think, quite a few people that when they get on your table, their tummy starts gurgling. So what
So
is
many
that
people.
happens? My tummy gurgles every night. I've been so aware of it every night when I go to sleep. I'm like,
And so many people, they get on the table and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm not hungry. I don't know what's happening. And I'm like, okay, you're relaxed.
yes.
Because that's what it is. It really is. So your autonomic nervous system basically controls everything you don't have to think about, like your smooth muscles, your cardiac muscles, your glands, everything. Like you don't have to think for your heart to beat. It just does it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that nervous system controls all of that stuff. And that autonomic nervous system is broken down into basically two parts. So your sympathetic autonomic nervous system and your parasympathetic autonomic nervous system. So
I just love all the big words.
I love big
Let's
words
stick
too.
with sympathetic and parasympathetic. I can say those.
Okay, perfect. So your sympathetic side is basically your fight or flight response. It is what tells your body to expend energy in stressful situations. Your parasympathetic is basically the opposite. So it tells your body to calm down after those stressful situations, and puts you into what we like to call the rest and digest phase. So it allows your body to heal. It initiates healing and allows you to rest and properly digest things, which is actually pretty important, right?
Hugely, even though we don't think about it that way, but it is hugely important.
So important. And so a lot of people kind of get stuck in that sympathetic fight or flight response. Just today's society, we're always on the go. We don't actually take time to ourselves to like calm our nervous system down. So when you're on the massage table and we're working with the parasympathetic nervous system, we activate that response in the rest and digest phase, and your digestive system just kicks in and starts a gurgling tummy.
Weird.
So weird, isn't it?
Our body knows what to do when we relax and aren't trying to control everything. So I would love you to share, like, how often do you recommend your clients to come see you?
It's really personal preference. I mean, if you can afford the time and money to come in more, definitely come in more. But
What does more look like?
like, okay,
Perfect
so
world. We're like taking away the money. We're like, just magic wand. This is what
I mean,
you do.
personally, if I could come for a massage every week, I would.
Yeah.
Because that would be great. It would feel amazing, and you would be so much less stressed, and everything would just be peachy. For my clients specifically, I like to say if you can at least come in every 4 to 6 weeks for some maintenance and just for a break, then that's great, and it'll really help. Obviously, if we're looking at the therapeutic side, I'm probably going to ask for more off the start if we're working with a specific injury, just because it takes longer than that to heal it. But yeah, like if you can come in once a week, once every 2 weeks, like whatever you feel your body needs, like that's amazing if you can do that.
And I don't know about your clients, maybe more industry standard. Would you say that people are coming to you for a massage on a regular basis when something is wrong? Or are they coming before it gets to that spot? And what are your thoughts on this?
So most people end up coming when they have an injury, right? So a lot of people that I work with, we're working to heal the injuries they have, and that's about it, right? And you can't really get the full benefits of a massage if you're only working on healing the injuries you already have. You want to get to a place where you can work on everything else, kind of like an oil change for your car.
Yeah, regular maintenance, which many of us, I actually love that analogy, I've used it before too, we don't miss that. Or we don't miss our tires needing balancing, or we need new tires before we get a flat tire. If you stick with the whole car analogy, we take better care. Often, not everybody, but often people schedule those things in, make it happen because they know they need to, because they don't want their car to break down and for it to be expensive. And so, perfect world, people would be coming for a massage on a regular basis when there isn't a flat tire, or something wrong with the engine,
Yeah.
that those things wouldn't happen if we were maintaining our body properly, right? Relatively. I know there's still some injuries and such, but
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like so many people wait until they get a flat tire to come in, right? Whereas if they came in regularly, maybe those injuries would be less likely to happen. Maybe they would feel better right off the start. It wouldn't take as long for their injuries to heal.
mm-hmm.
So,
And if we just go back to the sympathetic and the parasympathetic for a moment, if we were getting into the parasympathetic more regularly, our body would heal itself easy.
totally, because it can't heal itself when you're constantly in fight or flight mode.
Yes. Let's talk about fight or flight a little bit, because I could talk about it for hours. I could continue to research it for days on end. I just find it so fascinating how we live in that state. And from what I understand, when you have a stress hormone come through your body, it takes 30 minutes for it to pass through, if we are aware of it and calm ourselves down. But if we're not calming ourselves and our internal, I don't just mean on the external that you look fine, because I think for the most part, most of my life, I've looked pretty fine.
And most people do. And then they're stressed to the max inside and they have no idea what's going on.
Yes, like adrenal fatigue.
Yeah.
Another example of, I was talking with somebody not long ago about, they had adrenal fatigue in prior years and how they had gotten into getting massages, doing meditations every day, eating really well, and how life was so great at that time. But I could tell talking to this person that adrenal fatigue was well on its way back because of like, just let go of everything that she had learned about herself during that time, because it's not the norm. And I don't think it became a full habit in her life of to live that way, and she didn't want to live that way. And it was like, you're gonna break down the car again. You got to keep some of those things in your life for a regular, so that those things don't pop back up for you.
Oh, for sure.
What do you think you see as the most common or regular misconception about massage?
I would feel that most people think that they just need to come in when they're injured, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what so many people do, is they come in when they're injured.
Mm-hmm.
But how many people come in on a regular basis? I mean, there are those people that come in on a regular basis, but how many people take the time to schedule that in?
Yeah. Because of money and time, I think, and not seeing, just not being educated maybe on the full value of it, which I think is part of your goal with your blog as well, is to just educate people on what is going on within your body and how these things can come about or not come about if you maintain and look
Exactly.
after yourself. So with fight or flight, what are your thoughts on fight or flight, Kiera?
What are my thoughts on fight or flight? I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are in fight or flight mode, like almost all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like at work when you get stressed out about something, or at home when something happens, or literally anywhere. And I feel like there's not a lot of people who are properly educated on, why you're in fight or flight mode and why you need to get out of it.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yesterday on my Insta stories, I was talking about my son over the weekend. I was trying to get him to read a book about money mindset because he didn't have any homework and he had to miss school last week because my husband was sick. And with the times that are now, you quarantine when anybody is ill in any way, right? And so he was like fighting me on this money mindset piece, this is not valuable knowledge, essentially, is what he was saying to me. Like, I don't need to know this stuff. This isn't important. And I was like, I don't need you to read the book and like be able to recite it to me verbatim, but I actually think you're going to deal with money every single day of your life for the rest of your life. And so I think it is good for you to have a money mindset. And we have like kind of different conversations maybe than you would with a typical 12-year-old because of the conversations that go on in our house regularly, right? So he had learned a few of them on the weekend and opened great discussions between the two of us. And then he came home from school on Monday and was telling me about the King of France from the 1800s and yada, yada, yada with England and all of these things. And I'm sure he is also a history guy. He loves history. And so I try not to say that's pointless. I don't know why you're doing that, because I don't fully think history is pointless either. But I don't see why that is like a core subject at school. I don't see how that is setting him up for success. And similarly with fight or flight, why doesn't he know what that is? Or I'm on a school tangent this week, but I'm like, or emotions, like properly knowing about emotions. Why don't we learn about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, since that's part of our body that we very much will deal with every single day? But we don't learn those things. Those aren't part of the curriculum yet. Hopefully they will become. But these are the things that I think would be most valuable to us, so that when we do get to different ages, or hopefully then we could see the value in being proactive on these types of things, like going for massage, the value of meditation, the value of feeling emotions, all of those things, instead of having to hopefully learn them as an adult and hopefully not learn them the hard way as an adult.
And I feel like a lot of people do learn them the hard way, which is actually really sad. But I
Yeah.
mean, not many people know, like, oh, well, you should be meditating, or oh, you should be budgeting your money. Cool.
Yeah. And
Like,
what does
how
that
do
look
you
like?
budget your money? Like,
Yeah. I think it opened a lot of discussions yesterday on my Instagram stories, and there was one that said, why is it that budgeting is like an option class, elective class, essentially? Like, again, we're going to deal with that our whole lives.
whether we want to or not.
Yeah, it would be like, I'm not a money person. I do not enjoy money figures, or, which is kind of funny because that's what I went to university for the first year. No, second year was for accounting. But like, that does not bring me any sort of joy. However, I see the value in being able to balance what I'm spending with balance what I'm bringing in. That is a huge difference. What would you say for your blog was the like pull to it? Was it the wanting to educate people, or
Um, I think I'm my happiest when I'm educating clients. Like, if I get a client that comes in and is like so intrigued by what I'm telling them and super stoked to hear what I have to say, it makes me feel good.
yeah.
And it makes me feel like I'm making a difference in their lives. So I feel like that's where the blog came in, wanting to do more of that.
Mm-hmm. And I love the idea of the blog too, because it's a referral base that people can go back and reference on a regular basis, because I think our consciousness can only handle so much information at one time. And when you're using some of these massive words, like, I couldn't say autonomic nervous system for the longest time. It was ANS. That is all it is. We're not calling it that huge long word that I can't pronounce. But when we get those words and our conscious is like, oh, whoa, we can't process that, then they have the blog to go back to, or even people that aren't just your clients, to understand on a deeper level what is going on during massage. And you can't necessarily spend 20 to 30 minutes every appointment going through all of the science. That's why you went to school. You know all the science, but you can't share that every single, your days would be so long, you would probably get tired of it actually. But now you can be like, hey, I have a blog on that. Here's the link to the blog on what's going on inside your body today.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think it's a really good way for people to learn about massage therapy, about wellness and self-care, and whatever else I feel like writing about.
Yeah. I think just trust yourself on that. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing what comes through in that way. What did it feel like posting your first blog?
Oh my gosh, scary.
Right?
I mean, you don't mean to, but you're thinking like, what is everyone else going to think of this? Like, are they
Yes.
going to like it? Are they going to want to read it? Is anyone going to read it? Like,
Yeah.
it's scary thinking of that.
It is so scary. I remember the first scary to me post. Well, like a few of them. The first one should not have been scary. There was no vulnerability in it at all. But I was like, oh, are all my people going to think I'm so weird by putting this? And I was also so proud of myself. This is so cheesy. Do not scroll back at my Instagram and look at this. I will not delete it for the purpose of I like people being able to see where somebody starts. But it was like, I think I was actually driving to Red Deer, now that I say it, when I made it. I don't know what for, but I wasn't driving. Blake was driving. We were going to Red Deer. And so I was making this post, and it had like kind of a video with it of like, I think the leaves were moving, or maybe the words just floated in. And I was so proud of myself for using this app that made it do that. And it was just about, you are the 5 people you're surrounded by, which I definitely believe, but I felt so self-conscious. We have a dog. So self-conscious about putting that out there because people might think I'm weird or judge me or all of these things. I'm going to close my door. We'll still hear him, but maybe not as loudly. And I think it's important for people to know that there is definitely a fear attached to doing all of those things. The first steps of anything, it's a vulnerability of us, even if we're not saying something personally completely vulnerable, of us putting ourselves out there and being like, I hope you like it. I hope you like me, is essentially what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Whereas it's not really about that. And we don't need to care what anybody else thinks, because the right people are going to find it. It's going to land in the right. Nobody is sitting on their phone or computer or whatever going, I can't believe she's doing that. Why would she post something about benefits to your body in any, like that just isn't a thing. But we build it up in our minds so much about.
You tell yourself stories about how bad it's going to be and how everyone's going to hate it and think you're weird and
absolutely. But then your weirdos find you and they love you for your weirdoness.
Because you know what, we're all weird and
we are.
Amazing.
It is. It makes us unique. We can't all be vanilla. That's really boring. And people want what you know, but they don't know how to learn what you know. And so to be able to give them a blog piece that just explains it so nicely in a few minutes for them to be able to come back to if they have more questions, I think that's just amazing and beautiful. And I think I commend you in that. I think that takes a lot of bravery and courage to just be like, I'm just going to put it out there. All these thoughts are floating around, but I am just going to follow through and I'm going to do it. And here I go. And I think it will just continue to explode for you.
And the other thing is that it keeps me learning as well. So I'm really excited about that part of it because it gives me motivation to learn new things.
Yes, and learn at a deeper level, I find, for myself. So I was saying to a friend yesterday, like 3 or 4 years ago, probably 4 years ago, I was like, why isn't there a job where you can just learn? Why isn't that a job? And then I've realized in the last probably 6 months, that is my job. I legit get to learn whatever I am fascinated by, and then I get to share it with people. And does it get any better than that? No. Like, it's seriously the most amazing job to be able to just learn new things, different things, same things, but deeper, and be able to share that with people. And you start to notice, or people will start to say to you, like, I remember the first time I held a workshop in my hometown and there were multiple people. It sold out so fast and I was shocked because I was very much like, oh, I live in Alberta now. It's really easy for me to feel safe over here in Alberta because I don't see those people at the grocery store. I don't know anybody going downtown that can judge what I'm putting out there. And so to go home and do this workshop and for it to sell out so quickly, it was like, oh, now there's all this pressure. Like I have to give them the absolute most, and then coming back to myself and all these things. But I had multiple people quote posts to me or things I had said in my Insta stories that I had no idea they were watching. No idea. There were many times over that first year that I wanted to just throw in the towel because it was like, am I really making a difference in the world? I don't know. Like maybe a little bit. You get into those darker times that you're feeling like imposter syndrome or that you're not enough in what you're doing. And that was the most incredible weekend of my life because it was like all these strangers, almost acquaintances, but strangers saying all of these things to me. I was like, oh, this is crazy. You saw that? Okay, I will continue on my path.
And you actually paid attention and got value out of it? Like,
yeah, to remember it months later, to tell me about it.
Yeah.
Huge, like means so much. And you feel like I've always loved the saying of like making a ripple effect in the world. And that's been my like driving from the beginning. It was like, if I can make one ripple for one person. I remember when I first posted about trying to commit suicide when I was 16 and how amazing people reached out to me and how I heard from so many people that made a difference for them and that it was touching to them. And that was super vulnerable for me to do. It was very uncomfortable. I'm not somebody that wants to be like, oh, look at me, I'm doing all the good things now, is how it felt. Like it took me so long to post about it because that's what it felt like I was doing, was putting attention on myself. And I didn't want that attention on myself. But when you're making bigger ripple effects, and that is what's worth it. That is what continues on. And now I'm like, bring on the tsunami. Like, I want to help all the people. I want to help all the people grow all their businesses so that their business can grow a ripple and their business can grow a ripple. And like, I'm going to reach 100,000 people through 6 degrees of separation. And it's going to be the most amazing feeling. And it's just exciting when you start to realize one little person at a time is a huge deal. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. How can people find you?
So I have a business Facebook page, Kiera Kroetsch RMT.
Yes.
I have Instagram, Kiera Kroetsch.
We will spell that in the show notes.
I'm not going to spell it out several times. My blog, kieramay.com.
Yep.
And I think that's it.
I love it. That's huge. That's 3. And if you could tell yourself 5 years ago, one thing, what would you tell her?
Keep going.
Nice.
Don't stop.
I love it. And so now I look forward to like what 5 years from now you'll tell this version of you right now. That'll be exciting.
I'm sure I will be a completely different person by then and have learned so much.
We do. We evolve so deeply. Well, I appreciate so much you taking the time to share this stuff, to broaden people's knowledge on why massage is so important. Go book your massage. Go book it. You can book it through her page, but if you're in a different area, book it with... Actually, I have another question. How do you decide who to use as a massage therapist?
I actually have a blog post on
I know
that.
you do. I read it.
So I have a blog post on like different questions you can ask new therapists before booking with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically strongly suggest finding someone who you like and sticking with them. So if you're looking on how to find someone you like, then go find that blog post. And maybe we can tag it.
Yes, we totally can. We will tag it in the notes. Good call. Because I think that held me back from going for massage for so long there seems to be a lot of massage therapists, but not enough at the same time. But I had no idea who I wanted to go to or what they would. And I also didn't want people to touch me.
I get that a lot. But I mean, you have to remember also that we're all trained professionals and this is what we are made to do. Like we all love doing this. We love making people feel their best. And um, yeah, so I know it's scary at first, but it doesn't have to be.
So it doesn't have to be about my like love handle that's over here.
No.
I was so self-conscious of that before I went for my first. I was in my 30s before I went for my first massage because I did not want anybody to touch me in any way. It just felt weird. Like, why would I go somewhere for somebody to touch me? And then it did not, like, one session and I was like, oh, I get it. This feels really good.
Totally understandable, but I mean, do you know how concentrated I am when I work? Like
So
I
you're
am
not
thinking
just
about
worried
the
about my
muscles.
role?
I'm thinking about the muscles and the bones and like what they connect to and what they do. And
Kind of like we were talking about with posts. It's so not about you in that moment.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I love it. Well, thank you for spending the time with us today. Super appreciate. Do reach out to Kiera, sending everybody lots of love and go own your own happy.